Let's bring in Jean Seroka now, who is Executive Director of the Port of LA. And Jean, first of all, you are guiding very strongly in volume terms for the first quarter, 20% up from last year. What could put those targets at risk?
Well, number one, Sri, is going to be the outlook on the U.S. economy. And most of our economic indicators continue to propel in strong fashion. Many who are observing now are looking for the Fed to start reducing rates over the year here in 2024. No indication as to just when that might start. Looking at the broader landscape, the jobs numbers are good. Unemployment is the lowest it's been in a generation, and the American consumer continues to shop. The holiday season was the best on record, more than $960 billion in sales, and even the Atlanta Fed is projecting a strong first quarter GDP here in the United States.
What about the risk of slowing China, Jean?
It's interesting, Sri, and we've talked about this before. China comprised about 57% of all the business at the Port of Los Angeles in calendar year 2022. That dropped to 53% last year. So while a China plus one strategy is front of mind to many of our importers and exporters, we're really talking about a fractional decline thus far. They'll remain our dominant trading partner, but I do project we'll see that share of the port's business get into about the mid-40s over the next couple of years.
Jean, the two incredibly important canals, Suez and Panama, are facing different challenges. Panama, of course, drought. Suez, the geopolitical tensions in the Red Sea. What does that mean for Port of LA?
I recently came back from a trip through Southeast and South Asia, Mandy, and what I heard from importers and exporters while I was on the road was that they're subtly starting to shift a little bit of cargo over to the West Coast. They want certainty. Those longer transit times do have an impact, even though weekly arrivals are starting to take shape on the East and Gulf Coast of the United States. The biggest reason right now is the price differential. And we're heading into the all-important contracting season in the Trans-Pacific trade that will culminate here in the months of March and April. And if that price gap remains quite wide, I see more cargo coming to the West Coast of the U.S. and specifically Los Angeles.
And do you have the capacity to increase?
Yes, we do. And there's a lot we've learned, Mandy, from the COVID surge that we all witnessed and what we were working on here when ships were backed up and cargo was not transiting our facilities as fast as we would like. We're running right now at about 75 to 80% of normal capacity at the Port of Los Angeles. And with our port community system, the Port Optimizer, we can now see upstream 40 days before a vessel arrives here in LA. Gives us ample time to plan our great skilled labor, the necessary machinery, and land use requirements that we need to have for any uptick in cargo.
Jean, you have talked about going after every pound of freight as possible, but it's quite a competitive landscape domestically, and we've seen cargoes shifting from west to east to the Gulf ports as well in the US. You now have a labor deal in place. How much confidence does that give you that you can build and rebuild market share?
A lot, Sri. And since the deal was ratified with our dock workers at the International Longshore and Warehouse Union in their contract with the Pacific Maritime Association back in August, we've seen our market share in the Pacific trade rise to 46%. That's up 4 percentage points since that ratification vote. There's much more work to do, but I do like the trajectory that we're on right now, and I believe we'll see even a couple more percentage points gain here in the months ahead.
During the COVID period, obviously, we saw supply chains around the globe jam up. Increasingly, we're hearing from CEOs, Jean, on CNBC, that those supply chains are easing, but of course are not back to pre-COVID levels. What's your read on how supply chains are tracking?
Much better. And I look at our vital statistics, Mandy, every morning. And what I see are the number of ships coming over has increased. Now, a little bit of that is the surge before the Lunar New Year start date back last Saturday. But also the time that these ships are in port working is about 4.5 days, and that's just about right. Cargo is sitting for less time as well. We're seeing that cargo that moves out by truck, which is about 2/3 of all of our business, is leaving after about 3 days, which is better than pre-pandemic numbers. Our rail cargo is also moving out within about 4 days' time, and that's the outer edge of where we'd like it to be. Equally as important to all of that is that the amount of cargo that's sitting for longer periods of time is now less than 6% of the overall business that's on the ground at the port. So these statistics are looking good or even better than they were pre-surge during COVID.
Gina, just give us a sense of where you are in terms of onboarding technology and AI automation in terms of streamlining and making the workflow more efficient and raising productivity at the Port of LA.
Yeah, this is a big part of what we're trying to accomplish here, Sri. That Port Optimizer I mentioned has now been in place for over 7 years. It's still the first and only port community system in the United States. It gives us advanced analytics on what we see coming in, and we could do a responsible look at how we performed on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make sure that we're hitting all these marks, because there are so many codependencies, as you know, in the multimodal freight system here in North America. What we're also seeing now is the use of visual images. Port Police Chief Tom Gazy tells me we now have over 800 cameras around the port, and using those images to look for bottlenecks, security requirements, and the even flow of cargo is also aiding the digital updates that we've been doing. Next up will be AI, how we can look at predictive and prescriptive analytics a little bit more keen, meaning how we do these simulation models and the what-if scenarios and how we will respond. So we're learning every day, and we still don't know what we don't know about this advanced digitization, but we're asking questions and we're bringing the right people around to make this operation even better every day.
It's exciting times, isn't it? Gene Seroka, always good to talk to you, sir. Joining us there from the Port of Los Angeles.